Another rainy day at 5K, right?
Yeah.
A rainy day. Once again, it's uncanny. It's been, I don't want to exaggerate, but I think it's been at least 40 days, maybe longer, of almost daily rain. I think in the last 40 days,
Yeah.
maybe even more. I think we've had an opportunity to teach a full day of lessons. Otherwise, it's been kind of rain constantly.
Yeah, it's sunny right now, but I think more rain's coming. Supposed to.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like torrential rain all afternoon. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to another 5K tennis discussion. We are beginning the qualies of the U.S. Open today, so I look forward to that. A reminder: if you are going to be playing our $700 prize giveaway cash competition and/or the fantasy team competition, to make sure you check out that video on this playlist, and it's titled that. So make sure you get a chance to check that out.
I was trying to see who's playing on the qualies, but go ahead.
All right. Yin Hao Core, greetings. How are you? Let us know if the volume's okay. Anyway, so don't forget to check that video out. Also, a shout out to Ivor Savage. He is the owner of Y-Tech Strings and as well the CEO and a great personal friend. And he is doing some extra handouts for the U.S. Open. So they just came out with a new string, Square X Sharp, which is an 18 gauge string. Some of the thinnest textured strings that you're going to find. 18 gauges of thin string, sharp edges, so it's a spin monster. So we look forward to getting that. I know Thomas Chi reached out to us on the last show and indicated he wanted to try it. We will. So we're going to be giving out sets of that for the U.S. Open randomly. So be ready for that.
Shout out to Mary Michael, who leaves the college. One of the few students that I'm actually going to miss.
When does she leave?
We were supposed to give her a lesson today at 1. And she's saying, hopefully you guys make it out tomorrow so I can say goodbye to you guys. So big shout out because I'm going to miss her.
Yeah. And I saw you just told Yin Hao that we were going to be watching the new Jurassic
Dominion,
World.
I think it's called.
Yeah. So our 6-year-old son, our youngest of 5, is a big Jurassic World fan. So he's looking forward to seeing that. Speaking of sons, by the way, our son Christopher, or our 4th oldest, is at the U.S. Air Force Academy. And the Air Force Academy just pictured him on a post there. And here was a picture of Christopher. That's him in the middle saluting. So good job, Christopher, for doing big things there. He is a fine tennis player as well. All right. So what we're going to do today for this rainy day is we are going to bring back a segment that we used to do. And that segment is random questions. During COVID, when it started, we would spend a lot of time doing what we will call rapid fire questions. So we're going to do something similar to that today. And these questions are going to be for all of you as well as Carla. So if you watch this later, most of you probably will. Feel free to put it in comments and we'll discuss both her answers, my answers, and your answers. All right. Speaking about Novak Djokovic just for a moment, we have continued to follow his status for playing in the U.S. Open. He is still officially on the entry list. And the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, has lightened the qualifications for people to come into the country. So that is still an ongoing discussion. So he's still on the list. People from the likes of political arenas, movie stars, tennis players, John McEnroe, namely, have been outcrying that it's nearly criminal for him to not be able to play. A couple of questions about that. Do you think that he will jump into the tournament last minute? No?
No, I think they would have done it already. I don't think so.
It's pretty messed up.
It doesn't start August 29th?
The 29th.
You have to have 10 days of quarantine, I thought.
I'm not sure.
Like was it like 10 days? Something with 10 days? I thought I read 10 days. I mean, so I don't know.
We shall see. A big issue with the preparation for a tournament is the mental preparation thereof. Practice court.
Yeah.
So even if he does play, then there's a big chance that his mental preparation may not be on par. But equally, I think he's the most mentally capable player on tour or possibly ever. So we'll see what happens there. Okay, so question number 1, starting question number 1. Here we go. Carla and all of you. Question number 1. Once again, we get ready for a major. In this case, it's the U.S. Open. Which major is your favorite and why?
The U.S. Open is my favorite one. I think I've said this a lot of times. I was born in Queens, New York, not too far from, from the U.S. Open. One stop on the 7th train, Main Street. Even though my parents left Queens at a very young age, when I wasn't even a year old when they decided to move to Brooklyn. I did train there a lot as a teenager. So it was my dream to one day be able to play. And I've had a couple chances to play on the main courts where they practice. My dream, again, I love hard courts. Maybe not so much right now to play on, but I love hard courts. I prefer watching hard courts over clay or grass. For me, the U.S. Open is everything. It's a multi-cultural place where everyone from everywhere get together. And I look at it as a place where there is no racism, hopefully, you know what I mean? Because, you go to Australia, it's mostly Australians that are watching. You go to Wimbledon, it's mostly British or.
Well, I don't think it would be, I think it would
not
be more
racist,
like culturism or something.
But there is, I think a lot of people don't, when you are from New York and you go to school in New York, I feel like my kids have gone to school in many different areas. And I feel like in New York, when I went to school, we didn't look at each other because of our different, we didn't, I didn't say, oh, this is my Russian friend, or this is my African friend.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. So I feel like New York is kind of that way. It doesn't matter where you're from. You're all the same. You're all struggling. You're all fighting for the same thing. And I don't know, for me, US Open represents freedom, everything.
A couple people in comments indicated, and I just lost it, Jose P, Australian Open, Yin Hao Kaur, Australian Open. Jack Nolte that said Wimbledon? I lost the comment. Anyway, so for me, it's Wimbledon. I must say that during the past years, the Wimbledon has changed in a big way, especially at least in my mind, in my opinion. It began to kind of fade a little bit in terms of being my favorite when they changed the 5th set to tiebreakers. Wimbledon is supposed to be about tradition, and you get Isner and Mahut, and then you had Mahut and Anderson or whatever it was that went on for 57, 59 in the 5th or whatever it was, spanning 2 days or 3 days. I don't think that if one person or a couple of instances, I don't think it should change the game as a whole. I don't. So not even that, though. This past year when they banned the Belarusians and Russians from playing, COVID, the way they can't handle COVID in terms with Novak and so many others, it's still my favorite, but it's become less of a favorite. Speaking of Belarusians and Russians, much love to you guys. Obviously, they don't have anything to do, especially the players, to do with the war in Ukraine. Thinking about the war in Ukraine, though, I know that yesterday, if you keep up with this, I know I do, that there was an assassination of a gentleman's daughter. That surely is going to escalate things. So a question to all of you: do you think that this assassination attempt, or not attempt, it happened, will make the war even bigger than what it is? Do you think now that parts of Ukraine that have not been involved are going to be involved at this point? Like how far does this assassination increase or escalate the war? Do you know how many conflicts in history spanning back thousands of years have started or escalated because of things like this, and a prominent person killed, whatever? I think some parts of World War II were based upon the same type thing. So that one thing that just creates a mess. What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear them out there, especially internationally. Anyway, the U.S. Open would be my second favorite major. I had a chance to go there 2 years in a row. I've said this before, in 2007 and 2008. I didn't go there to watch. I mean, I was able to see Federer and Djokovic and Federer and Murray finals, but I was doing mainly working and involved in doing some apprenticing and some stuff with stringing. And I was a field string tester for a while with the USRSA. And was able to do some fun things in the stringing world because of that. U.S. Open will be 3, US Open 2, French Open 3, and no disrespect to the Australian, but when I was a boy, the Australian Open wasn't really the hottest commodity. Not all the players played it. I think that's why Serena Williams's 23 majors kind of overcomes Margaret Court's 24, because a lot of hers were Australian. You know what I'm saying? And times where it played as much by people from afar.
I think I would have to put, of course, U.S. Open 1. I used to love Wimbledon a lot, but I feel like so much of the tradition is almost gone. And that's what made it exciting. You used to run to your house to see it on, the local channel. And it was a big deal. They would cut out certain shows just so they could put Wimbledon on, and just watching the players, even though I didn't really care for the bowing and all that, it was just tradition. It was just great to see. And I think it's changed so much. So it's kind of made it just like any other Grand Slam. So I would have to put the French Open at 2, Australian at 3, and Wimbledon at 4.
Yeah, Yin-Hao Court says it perfectly. He would also have to say that Margaret Court was in a lesser an era. Jack Nolte responds to the Ukraine topic. He said it may escalate, but hard to know who is behind it. It could be that the Russians themselves were behind it.
Putin did it himself just to start something
as a way to escalate.
That's the first thing that came into my head. That would be the smart thing to do.
Yes.
I mean, you got to play dirty when you have wars.
All is fair in love and war, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Question number 2. What is your fondest memory? And it doesn't matter if you're a tennis fan, if you're a coach, if you're both, if you're a player, or if you just, watch us in the game sparingly. What is your fondest and most positive memory that you have involving tennis, either on the court or off the court, but involving the game? Your most favorite memory?
Because I have kids, I would have to say my kids, playing. Watching Lily win her first high school, what was it, state?
Sectionals, yeah.
Sectionals. That for me was to see the smile on her face brought a lot of joy. I felt good. If I was a kid, I'd have to go back to probably when I played the match against a boy. And my dad said the story here many years ago. It was like 3 hours plus. I came out of there cramping. I wasn't supposed to play him. I was the number 2 seed, but they decided to put me as the number 1 seed. And I got to play him and I got to beat him. My dad was excited, just to see my dad happy and my teammates happy. That probably was the highlight for me. Many of my memories, good memories, is really the kids playing, watching Jonathan do really good when we had a tournament here in Dolphin Island and just him creaming everybody, watching Christopher dominate, my kids, I would have to say. I can't even say pros. That it would be my life, my kids, my family.
Very interesting. Yin-Hao Court says Del Potro winning the U.S. Open. That was a tough day. At that point in time, I think I had just gotten my Roger Federer tattoo on my back. So I have a big RF logo on my back. Mm-hmm. And Del Potro won that. Now, I do love Del Po, but at that point, again, the context, I just had a tattoo put on my back. And then to lose that, I was like, oh, no. Should I get that RF turned into really fly?
I kind of laughed at that. I turned off the channel thinking that Delpo would lose. If we're asking pros, what to me the biggest moment in tennis for pros, I think Sabatini finally winning her Grand Slam.
Beating Graf, right? Finally.
Like, to me, that was, I remember that as a kid. I could say many, but I think that one stuck with me because I felt like she should have won many. And Steffi Graf was always there beating her, kicking her ass.
Yeah.
And to finally see her win and the excitement, the joy, her dad crying, that was a good moment.
Yeah, my favorite moments, if I'm answering the question as a fan, would be when Roger Federer, and I know we butted heads on this, and we still do, when Roger Federer beat Andy Roddick in the 5th set, 9-7 in the 5th, and won Wimbledon, taking away Roddick's chances for another major. You are or were a very big Roddick fan. I really was not. Fine player, but just not a big fan. But when he won that, I was really excited. I remember I got the limited Roger Federer hat from Nike that had the 1 and the 5 on it instead of just the RF.
That was a sad day for me because Sampras, that was Sampras' record. So.
Yep, beat Sampras' record. Federer came out in like the white slacks.
Yeah, I was so mad. That was a bad day.
Yeah.
That was a bad day of tennis for me.
Yeah, so one of my fondest moments, my dad was there to see this one. I was down love 6-0-5. So it was a semifinal of a tournament. It was here in Mobile. I think I was maybe I don't know, 22, 23 or something like that. It was a men's open tournament. Anyway, I was down love 6-0-5, and was receiving serve and came back and won that. I remember that day I walked on the court. I didn't feel terribly well. I kind of, it's not that I don't think I didn't want to be there, but I just wasn't engaged. And at Love 5, I remember turning around, looking at my dad, and he was like, whatever. And my shoulder had been bothering me. Actually, shortly thereafter, I ended up having shoulder surgery on my rotator cuff. Anyway, I started serving underhanded. I ended up breaking the guy, and then I started serving underhanded because I realized, hey, I'm not hitting my spots on serve because my shoulder's hurting me, so I'm kind of pushing it. So I started hitting my spots, serving it underhanded, and started serving to the gentleman's backhand. Anyway, long story short, I came back and won that in 3 sets. So that was a big deal for me, and then went on to win the tournament. Serving.
That's awesome, Justin. I've never been down myself 6-0, 5-0. I don't remember ever being down that bad coming back to win. I don't think I've ever had to do that in my life. So that's kudos to you, because I don't think most people could do that. I think most people would give up.
And it got a little bit easier. It was a brutally hot day, and I remember the gentleman started cramping. And when he started cramping, I just started chipping, drop shot, chipping, drop shot, chipping, drop shot. And pretty much
you play point by point.
Point by point.
That's tough to do. That's very tough to do. Wow. Yeah.
Second thing that's even above that, though, and you just mentioned it. Don't forget that's how we met. We met because of the game. She was getting into the coaching world, and I was already doing so, and we met because of that. And as well, seeing the kids. Of our 5 children, they all play. And we'll rank them from best to not as best as another question.
Oh, that's so wrong.
All right. Next question. No, by the way, Gene Swart says personal, winning the school choir competition on Heritage Day. That's great.
That's awesome.
Jack Nolte, Serena win versus Heather Watson in 2015. Round 4-3, I think round 4, when one in the crowd was also booing and hostile at times.
I like Jose P. He said personally winning my first USTA tournament. And then on the pro circuit, seeing Fed choke in the 2019 Wimbledon.
Some interesting. So some best moments are pro Fed and some are anti Fed.
Yeah. Gene says Federer versus Nadal, 2017 final. Yeah, I think that'll be almost everyone. I mean, there's so many you can pick from, but to me, the Sabatini one was a happy day, because it's somebody you wanted to win. One that I'm not proud of was when Iva Maioli beat Hingis at the French Open. I was so happy. I was like, yes, you're not getting that French Open. And that's a mean thing, but I was so happy. Even though I didn't know who the hell Iva Maioli was.
It's okay.
But I was so happy because Hingis got under my skin a lot,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, next question. We talked about your most favorite prized moments.
Oh.
The next question is the opposite. What is your worst memory that you have involving tennis, whether directly on the court or off the court, but still involving the game? Your worst memory or memories?
My worst memory would definitely have to be me quitting tennis after a match. I stopped playing challengers, came back home. I was 18, played an open tournament, and I lost to this player that just pushed everything up. And it's like I've completely forgot to play tennis. And I think one of the coaches that helped me as a junior was there for that match. I lost the match. It was a close match. I got in the car. I looked at him and I said, I'm done with tennis. I hate this game. And he didn't know what to say to me. And I think I quit tennis. It wasn't for a year. It was for a few months. I stopped touching a racket. I was so upset that how could I play challenges and lose to this sucky ass player that had no game? And it was just disappointing. It was like, maybe it's a sign I should quit tennis. And so I stopped playing for a couple months. That would be the worst moment for me with the tennis.
Interesting. Yin Hao Kaur says this year's Australian Open is probably one of them. Yes. What an absolute abhorrent Australian Open. Again, the way they treated Novak made him out to be a 2-bit criminal and some of the other things. But that's a pretty bad moment. Historically.
That would be bad. That would be I think, but for all of us, if you think about it, the worst one would have to be when Monica Seles getting stabbed, and how that can happen to a pro player and change her career. That would have to be one of the worst moments to see in tennis.
Yep.
Of all of tennis. How can that happen to her?
Jose P says spraining his ankle from a ball on the court. Yes, we actually call tennis balls death cookies. Mm-hmm. So if we're teaching or something, running clinics, whatever, we see a ball on the court, we always say, hey, move that death cookie. Tennis balls on the court are very, very, very dangerous. They can cause brutal injuries, ankle rolls, Achilles tendon ruptures, broken legs, blown out, you name it, it can happen. My worst memories on the court, number one, you were there. It has to be number one. Oh, yeah. I was playing Carla a match, and I was frustrated that day. Had some people watching, and I jumped for an overhead that I knew I couldn't get. I don't know if I just had life in my legs that day, but I got further off the ground than I think I've jumped since high school. Anyway, it came down and my leg snapped, and I ruptured my patellar tendon. So if you don't know what that is, that's the thickest tendon in the body that connects the top of your leg to the bottom of your leg. So for a period of 9 days, I went with my tibia not being connected to my femur. So it was just hanging there. The muscle loss I'm still dealing with. I lost all my quad muscle. Just a crazy, crazy, crazy event. That would be number one. Number two, Jose P mentioned ankle roll. Oddly enough, where we are the head tennis pros at Mirror Lake, I was playing there as a junior, and the same thing happened to me. I didn't trip over a ball, but I rolled my ankle really, really, really bad. My whole leg was black and blue. It even turned green. I went to the hospital for it. Luckily, nothing was broken. I came back from that. And lastly, the time our oldest son, Jonathan, double faulted. Actually, I have another one too. He double faulted.
I thought you were going to say the other one.
He double faulted. Times. He double faulted. It was like 20. He double faulted 20 times. And after he started double faulting a few times, he got kind of pissed off and just kept slamming the ball. And so he purposely double faulted. And then another time, Jonathan was playing a kid that he could never beat. Oh my God. And so Jonathan started slamming balls at him. The kid would be like, "Hey, can I have that ball over there?" He'd pick it up and just cram it at him. And I got so mad.
Jonathan.
Yeah, and then this is a big one too. Carla and I were taking our second oldest son, Christopher, to a tournament, and it was during COVID. And Carla and I were walking down the fence line, telling multiple students to, hey, good luck, stay positive, have fun. So there was a gentleman that was the director of this club, and his wife comes out of nowhere and insinuates that we can't coach from the sideline. And I'm like, the match hasn't even started yet. I'm just telling them good luck. They were going to the fence to get their balls that they had to leave dots on. And I'm like, so in other words, you're calling me a liar. And she was like, real smart ass. She was like, well, you know better. Anyway, after that occurred, the draws came out, and our oldest son, Christopher, who was like an 8 UTR at the time, should have won the tournament. And there was another kid that should have been right there. That was another 8 UTR. Everyone else in the tournament was lower. They were the two favorites.
Yeah, they already had faced each other the year before. And John and Christopher won.
Yeah, and Christopher won it. So because of this, the draws get changed. They push our son to a court, not even at the same facility, to a lumpy clay court that had not been groomed. Nothing was done to it. Both boys were upset. The parents of the kids were like, why are they playing in the first round? Whoever wins this match is going to win the tournament. Anyway, Christopher lost that match in a 3-setter. Neither one were happy. Sometimes they would hit the ball and it wouldn't even bounce. It would just get stuck in the mounds of clay. I'm not kidding you.
It was horrible.
It was horrible.
And this club is like, we're ritzy. You have to be a ritzy person to be a member.
Yeah. And so ultimately, the boy that won, as the parents and we were discussing, won the tournament without dropping a set after that. So anyway, that was a really, really bad day, and that's still beefy on our minds to this very day.
Yeah, for me, I guess another one that would be was just a few years ago for getting kicked out of a club.
Where?
Getting kicked out of a club because I wasn't supposed to be there according to the coach.
Oh, that was a bad day.
That's one I will never forget. And I don't care. We have people that come from, they're members at that. They come to our club to do lessons and stuff.
They probably don't even know.
Some of them do know. And I have no respect for that coach, and I will never have respect for that club. So I hate talking about that club.
Well, what occurred is Carla and I had agreed.
I hate talking about that club. I will never be part of that club.
Carla and I had agreed to play a doubles match for a league that needed a little bit of help. And Carla and I don't play leagues because as coaches, it's tough because if you win, it's because you're a pro. And if you lose, then, hey, you suck, right? So it's a lose-lose. But there was a guy that asked us to play, was really good friend, really good guy. And we decided that we would show up to play. So we went to the club, got there a little bit early so we could hit some balls. And I walked through the club, no problem, saw the coach, waved, walked out to the court, put my stuff down. Carla was behind me a little bit. She stopped in to use the restroom. And as I was waiting for her, I heard someone yelling at somebody. And I'm like, that's kind of odd. I'm in a club with only people here. And I hear someone yelling. And I realized that this coach was yelling at Carla. So I walk over there and he is yelling at Carla, quote unquote, you don't belong here. Get out of here. And Carla's trying to tell him, hey, one of your leagues I'm playing for, I don't care. You don't fit in here. You need to get out of here. And we ultimately left.
Yeah, we left. Darren, I think, tried to get the coach fired. He's still there. So I just don't, I don't bother with that club.
Yeah.
At all. That's a bad memory because it just shows you how there's a division in tennis, whether it's
gender,
or
the color of skin. I don't know.
Color of skin or class.
Yeah.
There's always something there.
Yeah. And it had to have been one of those because again, I walked through, waved, how
I don't think it was
no problem.
Definitely not racism because he was teaching another minority. And I think it had to do with, I'm a woman, he's a guy.
I don't know. I didn't go too well. Eleanor says watching Zverev hurt his ankle was hard.
I thought about that one, but I also thought karma as well. It's interesting to me that Bashvili, who has, a problem with his wife accused of beating her or choking her, has had a shitty ass tennis career after.
Mm-hmm.
And here comes Zverev, who didn't pay the price for that. And he got one of the worst type of injuries you can get that's taking him out of tennis.
Yeah.
Things happen. It's just interesting to me.
Yes. Does anyone believe in karma?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, by the way, Jose P indicated Zverev getting taken out was a bad thing as well. And Van Lee says, I don't believe in karma. That's okay. That's it.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily believe in it anyway, but I think there's an old saying, what goes around comes around.
What goes around definitely comes around. I do believe that. I've seen a lot of people who have done well, who've done good by people, who are selfless. How do you say it? Not selfish.
Selfless.
Yeah, and in life, everything goes well for them. And then you see those that do bad, and eventually everything starts catching up to them. So we can leave it at that. Maybe say that. What goes around comes around.
Gene Swart with an interesting comment. Daria Kazatkina, as you know, is one of our favorite players. I do like her a lot. Admitted recently that she is gay and talked about how hard it is for Russians to come out and speak about it.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, it has to be difficult.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the key difference between politically the East and the West. Russia, for example, is willing to battle to the last man to prevent that kind of Western type thing, as they like to say, from creeping into their back door. So I understand that's an interesting thing for Carla and I, for sure. That's not on our radar at all. We have many friends that choose to do things differently.
That's their life.
And that's okay.
She has a beautiful girlfriend, by the way. I saw her picture and I was like, wow, okay. Yeah, whatever. It's her life. It's what she chooses. And I'm sure it's very tough. It was very tough for her. I kind of knew she was, though, I think
you had guessed that.
I had guessed that a long time ago, but I think Maresmo was too. And then she changed, something happens. I don't know, whatever makes her happy.
Yeah. Again, though, tough to speak out against a regime that is very anti that. So congrats to her. What about when Shui Pang spoke out about sexual harassment from one of the premier politicians in China? I wonder how she's doing. Has anybody heard how Shui Pang is doing? She retired shortly after that or just before that. No one could find her for a while. The WTA was saying no more tournaments in China. And I don't think there is still currently tournaments in China, either A, COVID related, or B, to do with that. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, question number 4. Carla, all of you, who is your favorite men's ATP? Who is your favorite men's player currently on tour, not retired? Who is your favorite men's player currently on tour?
I mean, if we're talking about player or looks, player, like the whole package.
The whole package.
Nadal obviously is my favorite player currently on tour. I mean, he's got the whole package. I'm not talking about looks. As far as what I would like my kids to follow, as far as the way he acts on the court, he's a fighter. He's very humble. I like his whole package, what he represents for tennis.
Just don't teach the kids to dig in their butt
and hit this forehand. Like that. I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't care for it either.
But I'm talking about the overall package. Yeah, I do like him as far as.
Yeah, and Nadal, again, we've talked about this before. Fine athlete, great gentleman. The butt picking is a little much, but Carla just mentioned his forehand. At least that he hits it that way quite a lot. Again, even his Uncle Tony has indicated to the masses, to the media, to the sports world, that he wouldn't advise any players to do such. But I can tell you one thing, that over the years that Nadal's been playing, all the students that we have taught that will watch Nadal play once or twice, and then they come back and they're trying to hit the forehand the same way, and it never goes well. Again, Nadal is a natural right-hander, but plays left. His Uncle Tony says himself that Nadal hits the ball a little bit late, but he is able to make it work like no other. I get it, but the butt picking is a little much. My favorite player on tour currently, I think I have a tie for two, one being Novak Djokovic, and two, for good reason, is Borna Coric. Borna Coric, when he was still a junior, we were following long before we did this show. He's a fighter. He can grind. He has variety. He can hit the ball big. He has angles, and unfortunately for him, he's been injury prone. It was one point in time, I think, when we first started the show, I said that he would eventually be like a top 5 player or even top 3 player, maybe even a number 1 player in the world. But because of injuries, that hasn't happened. He just won Cincinnati, as we know, so good to see him back. Carla does have a theory, though, that any player that wins a Masters 1000 prior or any big tournament prior to a major, they end up doing badly. I don't think that will happen for Borna Coric in this tournament. I think Borna Coric will do well.
I hope not, but don't tell you I told you so.
And I put him up there with Djokovic as well. He's from the same part of the world that's been through so much. And we've talked about wars, Kosovo and Bosnia and Croatia, Serbia. All these countries have been brutalized by warfare in some way, shape, or form. Playing in bombed-out swimming pools with the likes of Ana Ivanovic, Helena Jankovic. Some of the stories that you hear and some of the players that you see that have literally risen from the depths of bombed-out swimming pools, their story is amazing to me.
And hopefully we'll get that from Ukrainian players.
Yes.
I hope there'll be a junior out there that's going through the same struggle, as they did. I'm sure they are. I'm sure with everything getting bombed that they're going through the same thing.
So a couple of you say Coric is super disciplined, doesn't throw any matches. Van Lee. Yin Hao Cord says he doesn't like Murray. No, he says I do like Murray. River too. Okay. Gene Swartz says Novak Djokovic congratulates Coric, quote, well done, champ. Absolutely deserved. All the effort and patience have paid off. Keep going and good luck moving forward.
He's a nice guy. There's nothing bad I can say about Coric. Nothing bad. I've never seen him behave bad on the court. So I can't say anything bad about him. Hopefully my theory is incorrect, but it's what usually happens. So we'll see. Yeah. And besides Nadal, I like Wawrinka. That would be my second player.
Again,
he's almost like out of tennis.
As much as I like Wawrinka, do you know that one wrinkle that kind of affects how much that I do like him? Because Wawrinka went through something with cheating on his ex-girlfriend, and one of those girlfriends was...
He was married, Justin.
Yeah, married.
And he was married, and I don't know. They broke up. They never say cheating, but who knows? And then he was with Vekic.
Donna Vekic, yeah. And I think it even went insofar as didn't Nick Kyrgios get involved in this talk off?
Oh, no, because he dated Vekic or his boy, Kokonakis. So who cares? Yeah. Come on. It's like movie stars. I just saw J-Lo get married to Ben Affleck. I'm like, holy shit. Everybody's like dating each other. They all marry each other. Divorce. It's like they're all slobbing second, third, fourth, whatever.
All right. Question number 5. Mm-hmm. We talked about your favorite on tour. Who is your least favorite male player ATP on tour? Who is your least favorite and why?
I would have to definitely say Snorri.
Cam Norrie.
Oh my God. He is boring. I was going to say Murray next, but Snorri takes the cake.
I find Snorri or Cam Norrie to be a pretty chillaxed guy. So I can't say I think you just don't like the way he plays. And
no, I'm talking about playing. But as far as I don't like player that I don't like. I have to think about that. There's so many.
It's an interesting question. Yin Hao Cord says he dislikes Fabio. I'm guessing Fognini. Fabio Fognini. Yeah,
Rune would have to be in my list he's ahead of Kyrgios. Rune for sure. A young upcoming players. Rune, Brooksby, Fabio would be in that list for sure. Mm-hmm. Can't stand watching
guys that are a little bit more full of themselves.
Can't stand watching them.
Maybe run their mouth a little bit too much.
Yeah. Benoit Paire is another one I can't stand watching sometimes.
So I'm going to throw out one you mentioned and one that you didn't, but one that I've mentioned multiple times before. First of all, believe it or not, the number one player on that don't like list is Jensen Brooksby. If it wasn't for your mother, then where would you be?
No, that's Rune.
Oh, is it Rune?
That's
okay. Scratch. Well, either way, I think Brooksby has done okay. Yeah, no, Brooksby imitated Tiafoe and kind of thrashed him.
Rune.
Same. Okay, so I'll say Brooksby because of that, the way that he mocked Tiafoe and the same type of ridiculous childish sportsmanship that he has. But Rune, because if it wasn't for your mother, where would you be? If it wasn't for your mother, would you have a tennis racket in your hand? If it wasn't for your mother, would you be able to have tennis lessons? And he has loudly dissed his mother and told her to get off the court. Now, I think we've seen that a lot, but the way that he did it, as aggressive as he did it, and the way she walked off the court that day was a really, 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 really ugly event. So I'm going to say Brooksby. Secondly, believe it or not, Stefanos Tsitsipas. He has a great game. He's a handsome young man. I understand that. But his tirades, his boyish outbursts, to the fact, kind of like Nalbandian, when Nalbandian kicked the chair or whatever and it hurt the line judge or whatever it was. What's his name? Tsitsipas. So Tsitsipas hurt his dad inadvertently, swung a racket or something, cut his dad's arm. His dad looked all freaked out, and his dad.
Tsitsipas is handsome. I have to agree with you on that. He's a handsome young man.
Yeah, I don't think he's a bad looking dude.
He's not. He's handsome. I mean, yeah, wow, definitely a good looking dude. But he's an idiot.
Yeah.
So it takes away from his looks. I mean, he's an idiot.
Exactly.
I'm shocked that Gene says he doesn't like Alcaraz.
I don't either.
I used to like him, but now he's gotten under my skin with the. And then looking at his camp the whole time. I'm like, chill out with that.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that one. Again, I don't have anything against Alcaraz, but I just don't like his energy when he's on the court. I find it too much too early, and therefore becomes a little annoying.
It's annoying.
And then he grunts so bad.
Van Lee says, hate Korda.
Okay.
Maybe his game. I don't know, but he's not a hateful. He seems to be
a
very chill guy.
Maybe that pretty boy look. Maybe that
he's not that pretty boy.
Well, I think he tries to be.
He tries to be. He's not. He still has daddy's looks. Ying Hao says, I didn't like Roddick either. I could see where Roddick could get under people's skin. I liked him because he was American and because I felt like he could beat Federer. And he was American, that's why I liked him. Mm-hmm. But I could see where he's an asshole for sure.
Yeah, kind of like Jack Sock.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sock should be on that list.
Oh, Gene says, I dislike Elise Mertens on the women's side.
Interesting. Interesting. That's an interesting. I didn't expect that one.
Yeah.
Okay, to finish that kind of this four-part segment, ending this segment with this. We talked about favorite and not favorite male. So now we're going to do the same thing on the women's side. So who is your favorite current WTA player on tour currently, not retired, on tour currently? Who is your favorite and why?
Serena is retiring. She was always my favorite. But she's pretty much done.
Yeah, she's not on
tour. So I
basically.
Can't really pick her favorite.
It's tough. I was able, once I figured out my answer, it was pretty clear. I had to think about it just a bit.
You can tell.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
You must come up with one. Okay, so my favorite WTA player currently is Coco Gauff. Not just because she's American, not just because she represents a minority that does help out the cause, but because she's young, she's vibrant, she has life, she is positive. I'm sure there's times where she's not. But the picture that she paints for all of us as fans, as coaches, as people that try to tell young ladies that we teach to watch to someone, I think Coco Gauff is someone that brings life to the game. And besides her, it was really tough for me to find anyone. I thought about Simona Halep because she's a fighter.
I don't have one, Justin.
But I went with Coco Gauff.
It's very tough for me to like someone that I have to sit down and watch or that I like. Coco Gauff represents all great things. Yes, I agree with you with that. But someone that I really want to watch and like I wanted to watch Serena or Steffi Graf or Jennifer Caprati or Henin. I don't have that right now. There's not. Okay. I'd rather watch my kids.
Fair enough. let's read a couple of these. Danielle Collins from Yin Hao. Fine, great pick. I think she can be a little snooty sometimes. So Osaka Eleanor, I agree with you. I just wish she'd refocus on her game because she could still, like she says, has some very good tennis left in her. Van Lee, Tomjanovic, and Leylah Fernandez, I'm guessing. Two good players. I like Fernandez as well. Tomjanovic as well. Jean Swart with Qinwen Zhang. Interesting. Anyway, moving.
It's hard. It's Andreescu was pretty close for me, but not quite there. So.
All right. And the last part of the 4-piece segment. Who is your least favorite?
Sabalenka, hands down.
Least favorite. Why?
Everything she represents for tennis is terrible.
What does she represent?
The loud-ass grunt, the bitchiness, the terrible serve, the no strategy, the way she looks, the way she acts, everything.
Okay, interesting.
Just everything is wrong about her. Everything.
Okay. I like Van Lee's statement. He says, I like girls who take care of their serve. Serena was epic at that. My least favorite, without a doubt, this came right in my head. Boom. Helena Ostapenko. Helena Ostapenko epitomizes being snooty. She has a bad attitude. She snubs handshakes. She has grossly gotten out of shape. She by far, and I was born into the game. I'm 45 in November, born into the game. We watched tennis as young as I can remember actively as a family, all the way up until now and moving forward. Ostapenko takes the award for the worst player that I've ever seen. Just like Jean Swart says, she's a sore loser.
She's 2, for me. Yeah.
She's a rough one to watch. We wish her well. I wish her well, but ultimately I could care less about ever watching her play again. Mm-hmm. It's hard to get out of my mind some of the things that she's done on court and some of the things that she said off court, mainly during press conferences.
She would be third on my list.
Radhu Khan from Yin Hao Core. I like this one. Another one. And we have a question that might pertain to her in just a moment. All right. Question number 8. Okay. You, Carla, and a lot of you play, or a lot of you are very deep into the game in terms of being a fan. Okay. We all watch young players grow, right? We all watch players develop. We hear media personalities talk about, like Jim Courier saying, I can't wait to watch these players develop and so forth. You started tennis at the age 11. And if you're a fan and don't play, the age in which you started being a big time fan was, X. Myself, born into the game, started playing at 2, and so forth. So, Carla, you have 5 children, okay? Or we have 5 children, and then coach many and hundreds, if not thousands, over the years, okay? At what age do you think is the best age to start your child or to start playing, and why? Now, granted, you can start playing anytime in your life, no matter how old you are or where.
To be good?
But what age do you think is the
5.
best age to start?
5 is the perfect age.
5? Why?
4 is too little. You quite can't grab the. I mean, I've taught 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds now, 4-year-olds. I feel like at 5, they kind of grasp it. They can grab the racket. They understand it. You can talk to them and they can, get it. You can show them. And they pick it up. They soak it up really well. 5 is the perfect age.
Okay.
For tennis. Perfect age. Younger than that, it's a little bit tough to keep them 5 minutes on the court. I don't really want to do the whole rolling the ball and stuff. I want to see them hitting it a little bit. So okay. 5 is perfect.
Fair enough. For me, especially being a father, we have, 5 kids, hence the name. I think the best age to start it is at birth. And let me explain that just for a moment. I think that with anything in life, if it's conditioned in you, if you're born into it, you're born with it, then there's never room for saying, I don't want to play or I don't like it. So Carla, we have put a tennis racket and all of our kids' cribs, not that they can pick it up, not that they can pick up the tennis racket.
I didn't do that for Jonathan. I didn't do that for Christopher.
Well, the latter 3 anyway. We have done that in a sense, so it's conditioned into them. Having a tennis racket in their crib, moving forward till they're 4 or 5, they're not saying, what is this? It's part of what they do. There is a psychological term called tabula rasa. Has anybody heard this? It's basically Latin for like a blank slate, a clean sheet of paper. So we have this thing, and it's in our bodies and it's in our minds, and it's debatable where that is, but we are like a blank slate of paper. And when we're born, things that are around us all the time, become natural. They become part of you. Look at our 6-year-old Justin. He's had a racket in his crib. Before you knew it, he was trying to hit balls with his bottle hanging out of his mouth. He would be like 1 year old, just learning to walk. He'd have a bottle hanging out of his mouth, and he'd be running around on the tennis court hitting balls. And now you can't even get him to not want to play. He always wants to play. We can get done hitting for 2 hours. He'll go get a drink, and it's like, let's go hit. So I think that we're most malleable when we're at that tabula rasa blank slate stage. And I think as young as possible is good to start conditioning them to be a tennis player. When we wake up in the morning, Carla, and all of you, do we think about breathing? Do we wake up and say, hold on, Mom, I got to breathe real quick. Let me think about it. Okay, I just breathe. No. So I think the moral of the story is you're trying to create whatever it is that you're trying to instill in your child. You're trying to make it like breathing, where we don't have to think about it. It's just part of you. So I think the best age to start is associating with it at birth.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying, but I've had kids that are 2, 3, and 4, and you can tell they're not. They're not ready for it yet.
Yeah.
Yes, there are some kids that I think are born with it. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like little Justin was born with the ability he has that in him.
Yeah.
I've met many little kids, and some of them are just not born with it. They're going to have to train a lot, but he was made for tennis. Like, I look at a lot of videos of kids, and not because he's our son.
And he's better.
He is better. I've looked at Novak. Justin is way better.
At his age.
Way better. You guys haven't seen him hit. One day we'll video him hitting from the baseline. Way better.
Regular balls from the baseline.
It's in him. Where I've seen there's like one other kid I've seen it from that, I haven't seen him in a while, that he has it in him to be that way.
Yeah.
I think 5 for me is the perfect age. They can understand it. They have hand and eye coordination already, and then you can start building it from there.
Yes. Eleanor makes a great, or postulates a great question: conditioning versus desire. The desire is everything, because if we run into this desire issue with Liliana sometimes, where she doesn't want to practice. She doesn't want to play. If she's kind of like Jonathan in a way on the court, sometimes she can double fault one time, and then her whole desire to play goes down the tube.
Actually, she's gotten better.
She's gotten better, though.
Way better. So she's kind of snapping out of that.
Yes. So desire is absolutely, in passion. Desire and passion are a huge part of that as well. Okay, question number 9. This is an important question, especially for the ladies out there. All right, question number 9. Nick Kyrgios, Basilashvili, Zverev, and many more have been accused of things by women. Not just tennis players does this occur. In NFL football, that's the National Football League, American football, Deshaun Watson, who is the quarterback now for the Cleveland Browns, Deshaun Watson was accused by 25 women of being sexually inappropriate. 24 of the 25 cases he settled, leaving one open. He was guaranteed at this point in time over $200 million to play for the Browns anyway. So he was offered that. All this still was going on. Number 1, this is a 3-part question, especially for the ladies, guys too, because the guys have to deal with it. A, what are your thoughts on this? B, what kind of example does this set for other aspiring young athletes and as well for women? And C, will you cheer this year for the Cleveland Browns? So A, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I think it's garbage. I think it would have been any other person, you, myself, somebody else, any other guy.
We've been in jail.
You'd be in jail. And we're sending out the wrong message. If you are a great athlete, it don't matter if you screw somebody up. It don't matter if you hurt them. You're going to get away with it because you're a superstar. And for us in life, sports or being an actor or something like that is a lot more than, it means a lot more than hurting somebody. Any other normal person would have been in jail already. Yeah,
you're basically saying exactly what Jose P. indicated. Jose P. indicates the punishment on Watson should have been stricter. He's conveniently coming back in time for his homecoming against the Texans. So and what is occurring is basically saying, hey, if you're an elite quarterback or an elite pro sports athlete, you can get away with nearly murder. It's not a good example to set for anyone, especially for laws against being sexually inappropriate. Could you imagine? She said it best. Could you imagine if one of us, any one of us,
Djokovic is out, by the way.
He is officially out.
He's officially out. Yeah.
Breaking news: Djokovic is out, so he won't play again. We talked about that earlier. It's criminal. It's a bad deal. I think that Djokovic very, very much deserves to play. Anyway, you're setting an example for future generations to think of themselves as godlike if they're an amazing athlete. Will I cheer for the Cleveland Browns? Absolutely not. I'm not a Browns fan anyway. So with that said, I wouldn't, even more so, not a fan. I do think that it was kind of peculiar what happened to Baker Mayfield there. So they can him, and then he gets traded to the Panthers, and then they take in a $200 million guaranteed quarterback with 25 ongoing open sexual harassment or whatever cases against him. So they kick a perfectly, maybe not the best quarterback, but a perfectly safe quarterback. They push him out of the way, and then they give Deshaun $200 million guaranteed. And he can't even play for the first 11 games because he is suspended. I wonder how the Cleveland fan base will cheer him on when he returns. I'm sure there'll be a lot of boos.
There should be. I mean, that it's just sad that he can get away with that. Obviously, so many women. One has to be true.
It has to be.
I mean, just like Bill Cosby, and R. Kelly.
Yeah, I mean,
now you have this. If you are Spanish out there. Plaza Domingo, for those of you that are Hispanic or Spaniards, because he's Spaniard, I think, or Italian. I mean, look what's going on. Sex trafficking. I mean, there has to be a truth there. There has to be something that was true there.
Yeah,
there's no way that you're innocent with that many people.
Yeah,
one, two,
okay,
but
25,
that many? Jeez.
Yeah, there's some issues there, especially given these girls' positions. A lot of them were trained professional massage therapists. Could you imagine if their stories were true? And surely some of them have to be. I don't want to judge. I'm not a jury. But when you get 25 of them and 24 of them settle, even that one that didn't settle is enough. Okay. All right. Question number 10. This involves Emma Raducanu. Who? Question number 10. We have given Emma Raducanu a tough time for the last few months. Putting that aside, what do you tell her as a coach, as a parent, as someone on your team? What do you tell her at this point in order to try to coach her or to get her better? What do you tell her? What do you do?
I would tell her, let's concentrate on training. Forget about anything outside of social media, stuff like that. Let's concentrate. Let's spend at least a couple months just training, staying away from from any media. Because she has the potential, obviously. We give her a lot of crap, but she's obviously a pro for a reason, right? Mm-hmm. You have to be decent to at least be top 50 in the world. I know we hate her, but it's not easy even being in the top 50 or 100. It's not easy. 200, 300, it's not easy. Yeah. So she obviously is decent. She has the tools. She just has to work at it and be hungry. Let's get hungry again. Mm-hmm. Forget about all that stuff, the glamour. Let's work on the tennis if you want to be good.
I think what Ella Noir was saying earlier about passion, I think you have to look in her eyes and when you see her play now, do you see someone that's just there because they have to be, or do you see someone that's really genuinely loving it? Every time I see her, she just looks like she doesn't know what to do.
Good comment. Good comment. I could teach you how to do some squats, like I could teach you. We can use Sub-Zero for the squats.
Yeah. So 2 good comments. Jose P says he is ready for another Randamova or Flukanu to win the U.S. Open. That's hilarious. Van Lee says Emma needs to hit the gym and do some squats.
She's too skinny for tennis. I mean, we saw Anna Kournikova had somewhat of her body figure, but she was a little more muscular and she didn't
much prettier.
She didn't win a slam. I mean, Sharapova was super thin, but she was powerful with her stroke, so she got a couple of slams. But yeah, I feel like she does need to hit the gym a little bit.
Yeah, I would say and I thought about this for a little bit. Toss the cell phone or smartphone rather. Don't worry about your social media presence. B, and this I wrote a long time ago, but what Ella Noir was saying. Ask yourself if you have passion to play. It just doesn't look like it. Go back to what works. She wins the U.S. Open and dismisses her team or her coach, whatever. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And immediately after winning the U.S. Open, she drops the coach. Now, there may have been more to that story. I don't know. But, the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's a good quote. It makes sense, right? So many people, something, positive happens and they try to change something. Just stick with what works. Go back to the basics. Become a student of the game. I feel like Emma Raducanu doesn't seem to be a student of the game, meaning is she watching film? Is she breaking down her opponents? Is she studying nutrition? Is she studying tactics? Is she studying diet? Is she getting adequate sleep? Is she staying positive? Or is it now a chore to play tennis because there's pressure and the passion to play has subsided because of all the outlets that she received in terms of endorsements and products and sponsorships after having won the U.S. Open? I think it's a multifactorial stew that is a negative stew, right? I don't think there's a bunch of positive energy dumped in her soup. I think she's got a negative bowl of soup. So I would toss anything that would lead you to not have as much passion for the game in which you got here in the first place. Mm-hmm. I think it all stems from passion. And social media, it can be so negative. That's one of the things about here. We could have a lot more subscribers, but hundreds of them we've either blocked or removed because of maybe, awful non-professional comments. I know we talk smack and so do a lot of us. But when it comes down to, hey, you need to pelt your wife in the face with rocks and I'll unsubscribe we'll just unsubscribe for you. So I think one bad apple ruins it for the whole bunch, right? So sometimes you just have to say no business is good business. And we'd rather not have the bad apple. Okay.
I like Van Lee's comment. He said at Eleanor, dating life for tennis players is atrocious. I feel like when you're a female tennis player, even a male tennis player, you have to, if you're so serious about tennis, and I don't think he meant it by that. I just think their dating life is atrocious. Like he said, you really have to choose between love and a career. And if you want to be a great champion, you need to choose tennis and then worry about the love later on. Mm-hmm. Or you'll be lucky, like some players like Djokovic, Nadal, and Federer, that their ladies were with them from the very beginning.
Yep. Simple.
But really, as a female player, once you have love in your life, it seems like everything goes to shit. Yeah. My coach used to say it a lot. You can't date, he would tell me. Because if you date, you're not going to be thinking about tennis. You're going to be thinking about the boy.
Exactly.
He didn't like it when a guy used to get near me because he's like, no, you're not going to be, you have a goal, and he was right.
Distractions.
I remember when I got a boyfriend, it was a distraction. It definitely is. How many tennis students we've seen, female students of ours, once they have a boyfriend, we're like, oh, shit.
Yeah. Exactly.
There goes their tennis.
They're taking breaks and looking at their cell phone and taking selfies and sending them to one another. Van Lee says it perfectly. Van Lee says you can't be a romantic serial dater and be a serious tennis player. You can't. You can make exceptions to the rule, but in a standard bell-shaped
curve, it doesn't
curve,
work. It doesn't work. I know. I remember when I was training and then I had a boyfriend and it kind of distracted me. You can't. You just can't. You have to concentrate. It's a distraction because they're calling you or they want to go out and you have to train and blah, blah, blah. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a recipe for disaster, and the list goes on of examples that we can.
How old is Vondrushova? I don't think her career was, even that hot, was it? She got married. Pliskova got married, but I think she got married later on.
Well, good for her for getting married.
Yeah, but it didn't change her career. It wasn't great, and she got to the top, but I didn't think she was going to win a slam anytime soon.
It's an interesting thing, and it all boils down to passion. You become passionate about your social media. You become passionate. It's hard to have two huge passions, right? And be the best in the world at them.
Yeah, I think if you've made your career like someone like Halep, she's won her slams, then get married, good choice. Serena, same thing, There's quite a few players that get married after.
And they've had long careers.
Good choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. Question number 11. And I enjoyed that topic, by the way. That was an important one. Okay, question number 11. It's a rainy day here in Alabama once again. Truly relentless nonstop rain. So bad, we have not been able to really work. So it has affected us stressfully.
Which means that will be teaching.
It has
Sunday or Monday, maybe.
It has affected us economically and emotionally because of the stress. This is how we make a living, and we literally for 2 months haven't been able to do that. Anyway, whether it's a rainy day or not, okay. If it's just a metaphoric rainy day, in other words, a bad day, it could be sun shining, but you're just having a rainy day in your head. what do you do to try to clear the rain clouds mentally? So what do you do, Carla? What do you do? If you're having a bad day or if it's raining outside, whatever, metaphorically, what do you do to try to alleviate those rainy demons?
I usually, if you see me cleaning, you know I'm bored because I hate cleaning, but I'll start folding clothes. I'll start cleaning things that maybe I left off. Then I'll probably watch a show that I wish I should have, I couldn't catch up on. Or like today, we're doing this show. I'm going to go exercise. I'm going to get on my treadmill that's been sitting there for a while, just standing, against the wall. I'm going to go work out. I'm going to lift some weights, just to get out of that funk. Just so I could feel like I did something good. Something productive.
Yeah, Eleanor says the rain in Alabama. Are you experiencing any flooding? It depends on. We live on the coast, so this area, believe it or not, gets more rainfall on average than Seattle. I think Mobile, Alabama, correct me if I'm wrong, is the rainiest city. Unfortunately, there's no indoor courts here. I've heard for years that's going to change. It's kind of odd. Anyway, so you're saying you get physically active? I
get physically active because I want to feel like I'm doing something. Like if I'm on Candy Crush a long time, I feel like a loser. Yeah. And I know you watch me and I'm like, why am I doing this? So today I decided, well, I'm going to fix up my schedule, move some lessons. We're going to do the show. After the show, I'm going to go work out. I'm going to lift weights that my son left down there and I haven't used. I might as well do some squats, build my arms up and listen to some music to pump me up. And then later on, get psyched about watching this movie with the kids. Yeah. And maybe eat something healthy.
Yes.
We didn't really.
Well, we had a nice salad last night. She's talking the movie she's talking about. Again, we never really have time to watch a movie. Our youngest son, Yin-Hao Kaur, is one of them as well that loves this type of stuff. But Jurassic World, we've heard that the movie kind of bombed, like flopped at the theaters. It came out on Redbox for $2. So we rented it. So I think we'll watch that tonight with the other 3 kids they're at home. But what do I do to take my mind out of the rain? And sometimes for me, my mind stays in the rain. If you understand what I'm saying, if I start, so there's a couple things that I do. All things tennis related. I think about writing shows, material, planning lessons, figuring out what I want to do with whoever's on my plate for the next lesson. What did they do last time that we could work on more this time, whether it's redundant or not? How can we make people better? Study drills. I do study a lot of drills. We do create our own drills. We created a drill called 15-3-1.
He created it.
Well, I was in the shower one day and I was thinking about it. I was like, hey, I can make a drill that's kind of microcosm of the game called 15-3-1. So the goal is to win 15 points, but you can only double fault once. If you double fault twice, your turn's over. And then you cannot give up 3 points in a row. So as long as you get to 15 points without losing 3 points in a row and without only double faulting once, then you get a score in your inning. And we did the scoring like baseball. Anyway, it stuck. Oddly enough, I've heard this drill come back around about a cool drill. And ultimately it was us that created it. So that was kind of fun. I like to invent things. I like to think about ideas. I like to record little tidbits and try to spread some positive energy. Ultimately, though, what do I do? Mainly pace. I pace a lot.
He kills me.
I pace. I can't sit still.
Me. He'll show me on the phone. Did you see what happened in Ukraine? He's like, did you see these shoes? Do you want those shoes? He's like, oh, look at this tag. How cool. Yesterday, that was all day. Look at this shirt. American Bully. I'm like, you know how women window shop?
I didn't buy it.
No, he phones shop. It's like he does. Not window shop. Phone shops, and he drives me nuts because I watch him pace back and forth and I'm like, relax, chill out. It's
very hard for me to sit still. You can ask my parents this, anybody that knows me. Very rarely are you going to see me sitting. Usually I'm walking, moving, something.
That's why today I'm running down there so I don't have to see him pace. And he'll probably take a video of me because everything I do or everything we do is a short clip on YouTube.
Hey, if it takes my mind out of the rain, then now you know why I do that. Okay, question number 12. By the way, I forgot to take some people's questions. Again, to answer Eleanor's question, not flooding here on the coast, but inland areas where there's rivers and so forth, they tend to get above flood stage and run over. So more inland areas, yes, but here on the coast, not so much. Eleanor says, play my old Wii video games. We used to play Wii tennis, by the way. Jose P working out and try to unplug. Yin-Hao Kaur says Jurassic World is closing in on 1 billion, so it definitely didn't bomb. I think the Rotten Tomatoes, here in the US, we use Rotten Tomatoes as a way of how do they score movies, and I think it got like really low, like 20% or something. It was a really bad score. Okay, Carla and I, for question number 12, Carla and I have 5 children. You all know this, hence our name. Anyway, so by the way, that 5K logo I thought of in the shower one day. We were trying to figure out a logo years ago, and I was thinking about the Roger Federer logo on his hat. And I was like, wait a minute, I can make a 5 and a K. And I just threw it on a sheet of paper, drew it up, sent it to a guy, and he created it. So anyway, Carla and I have 5 children, hence the logo. Their current names and ages. Currently, Jonathan is 20 years old at the Air Force Academy. Christopher's 18 at the Air Force Academy. Liliana's 13, a good upcoming young tennis player. Gabriella's 10, a solid tennis player for 10. And JPD2, Justin Jr., is 6 and a good aspiring tennis player. How do you think they rank? And you probably won't be able to answer this. There are a lot of videos of all of them out there playing on a different playlist. I think the playlist is 5K tennis lessons or something. There's like 600 videos there. And most of them are older, though. Of all the tennis players in our house, who do you think, or how do you think they rank in terms of best to worst? Not as of now, but their overall package moving forward. We've trained our kids since very young. Justin since he was born. Who do you think ranks the best or has the potential to be the best of all of them?
One would have to be little Justin for sure.
So the 6-year-old you think would be number 1?
Yes, because he loves it. He begs us. He bugs us. He's always on the court. You don't have to tell him. And I've not seen a little kid play like that. He does.
Okay.
And I think
Miller's not far out. He's a little bit older.
He's a little, but he's more naturally athletic.
Yeah.
So he has the athletic genes, which you need to be a great athlete, in my opinion. 2 would have to be Christopher. I feel like if Christopher would have had some type of desire or some passion for the sport, he could have been amazing.
Christopher is a beat.
He could have been the way he thinks on the court. You don't teach that to kids. We never taught him that. That comes within himself.
Yes, he had his own unique style. He got close to a 9 UTR and he didn't even practice. He didn't want to practice, but he would destroy anybody he played.
Yeah. Lily would be next.
Yeah.
Because she's strong, athletic. I think she could do any sport that she wants to.
Yeah.
Her mind is what's killing her. I think it's improving from what I saw this tournament. I saw a different Lily.
You saw a fist pump.
I saw a fist pump, and I heard her shouting, and I saw desire in her eyes to want to win, to want to get better. I think she realized that, there's more to tennis than just hitting a ball or thinking out there.
Yeah.
So I think for her, if she can get her mind right, she can be really good. 4th would be Jonathan, just because he's older than Gabby, and we don't know how Gabby's going to be because she's still young.
Okay.
Jonathan, unfortunately, at any sport that he picked was always a mental issue for him.
Yeah.
Could have been baseball, tennis. He would get down, and it was so hard to get down.
Yeah, he would pout a little bit.
He would pout.
And I think that's Lily's issue.
But I think she's
getting better. Yeah.
She's way better than him at that.
And
then Gabby, the only reason I put her at 5th is because she's 10, and I don't know what she's capable of yet, but I feel like
when she wants to play, she can play.
I feel like we will find out very soon.
Her first tournament's coming up.
Her first tournament, I think that if she practices, from what I've seen, she's starting to get her forehand. Her backhand's nice. If she can get her serve
and her footwork
with her length, I think that she could be really good. But right now, for me, little guy would be number 1.
Yeah, and I just differ with you just hardly. Justin Jr., we call him JPD2. I'm JPD1. I would say him number 1 for the same reasons. Always wants to play. We're on the court for 10 hours, 11 hours a day sometimes, and he's still wanting to play. And we're like, oh, my gosh, I need a break. Sometimes it feels bad. Sometimes I feel guilty that I have to say, hey, I got to take a break. And he's like, no, I want to play. So sometimes it's hard. Number 2, Christopher, no need to repeat that. Number 3, Liliana. Again, her pouting is what puts her 3 on the list. If she had passion to play, then I would put her 1 on the list because she's very strong. Jose P would agree with that. Then I would put Gabriella next because Gabriella, I do a lot of training with Gabriella. She's starting to get her serve, in other words, fluently with pronation and putting a whole serve package together. Liliana got that right off. Justin's already getting it. But Jonathan he not only would he pout, he would get pissed off.
Yeah, and it was hard to talk to him.
You couldn't
say anything to him.
So, and because of that, he had a hard time winning tournaments. So, I mean, he made it deep into tournaments, but when it got down to the final 3, final 4, He usually had a pretty bad go. And what would happen is he would get down a little bit and he would either pout or get pissed. And then it was history. I mentioned he double faulted 20 times before. He double faulted once or twice and then just pounded every ball and didn't even care.
To underhand serve.
He wouldn't push it.
It's like, come on. And I saw even Lily do that.
Yeah.
She even did that. I was like, yes, you got to do whatever you can to win. But, they're all different. But then we're talking about tennis. And in life, Jonathan, even though he's the fifth, he was the first one to be successful.
Yes.
He was the first one to make everybody else look at him and say, okay, I can do that too.
Yes.
So he was the best example for his siblings because he was always a great brother, always, But in sports, he was just a little tough to deal with, including baseball when we play baseball.
And we rarely get a chance these days to actively film the kids, but we will. It's just that sometimes we teach our kids and then jump right into a lesson and then so sometimes it's tough to find the time. Okay. We're getting down to the end. Next couple of questions. Question number 13. If tennis never existed, which sport do you think that you would either be a fan of, play, or coach, etc.? So in other words, if we weren't here together now, what would you see yourself being here now for?
If I could play any other sport?
Yeah, if tennis didn't exist.
Track. I did track.
So you would watch it, like we talk about it.
I watch it. I would train. Yeah, I did track in school and stuff. I was very good, but I felt like that was not my calling. I felt like some of my friends were beasts. I'm like, damn. And I had to work for it a little bit. Where I feel as tennis, I don't work as much for it. A
little bit more natural for you.
A little bit more natural for me, but definitely track was something that I love watching. He gets bored.
Enough to do 600 shows about it.
He gets bored, but I can watch it all day.
Well, I like the sprinting, stuff.
I can watch it all day. I love it.
There's certain things that I like to watch, and there's certain things I don't. Like the shot put, not a real big interest.
I'm talking about the running track.
Okay,
like the hurdles and stuff. I'm not talking about the shot that I could care less. I'm talking about track. Okay, so actual running.
Track is a broad.
Yeah, but I mean, just track. I'm not talking about track and field, like the field. The rest of the stuff.
Yeah,
just the running.
Well, I don't like watching like the 5,000 meters or a race.
Not long distance running. No, short distance running.
So you like the sprints, the bursts of speed.
The burst, the speed, the power, yeah.
For me, it was a tie of four things. Football, number one. When I was a kid, my dad would push me a lot to throw the football. Because it's like the serve in tennis. It's important to have a good throwing motion. But I played a little bit of quarterback in like little league pee wee football and had a good time with that. Baseball as well for the same reasons. Coordination, working with the team. I played baseball all the way until JV high school, and then I couldn't quite hang with them anymore. But then again, I was tennis oriented at that point, a long ways in, tournament player at that point. Basketball and surfing. Played a lot of basketball, played on church league basketball until I was like in my teens, and surfing. If I wouldn't have blown out my knee, I'd still surf up to this very day. But I can't since I ruptured my patellar tendon. I don't have the range of motion to pop up and get right to my feet. I would have to drag the knee, and then I would get dumped into the bottom. But those sports. Okay. Jose P says, I wrestled for many years and really enjoyed that. Yin Hao Kaur says, second favorite sport after tennis, Australian rules football. Okay. I think that's similar to like rugby maybe, or footy, he says. Interesting. Okay. Question number 14. Serena Williams is set to retire. She has 23 majors. Soon enough, Roger Federer with 20 majors, Rafael Nadal with 22 majors, and Novak Djokovic with 21 majors will respectively retire as well. In our lifetimes, do we see anyone attaining this many majors, A, and B, out of those four people, who will retire with the most?
Will we see this ever happen again?
Will you in our lifetimes, when all four of them are gone, will you ever see someone attain 20 majors? And B, when all four of these players do inevitably, respectively, retire one day, who will end up with the most?
I don't think we'll see that for a long time. No.
Okay, I don't think we'll see it in our lifetime either. The difficulty of one person doing it is extreme. Much less all of them, but I don't think anyone touches even Rogers 20 for a long time.
Who will retire with the most? Serena has 23, right?
Yeah.
Rafa has 22. I think that Djokovic or Rafa, it's in their what do you call it? Gosh, I can't speak today. It's in their hands to do it. Okay. I mean, it's all up to them. It's all up to Djokovic. Will you get vaccinated and play more slams? Will you not? That will stop you. It's up to Rafa. How long can his body keep him going? He's at 22 already. 23 is like right there. That could be another French Open, you know? Serena's done. She'll stop at 23. Federer's done. But Djokovic and Nadal still have time to pass.
Yeah.
And retire with the most. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you in a sense that no, I don't think in our lifetimes that we'll see another player come along at 0 majors and then roll off 20. B, I kind of prophesized about this. Who will retire with the most? I'm thinking Novak Djokovic finishes with 25.
I mean, he could have done it already. In my opinion, it could have been done already, but
I still think he finishes.
I think the fans would have been right, but because of his choice, I think that's kind of stopped him. He has stopped himself.
Yeah.
You know, Australian is his baby. He could have had 22
well,
right now.
I don't think he stopped himself. I think certain things that people are trying to ram down people's throats.
I get it, but that's his decision, Justin. It's
okay. Anyway,
it's like Jonathan.
We'll move forward.
No, but I'm going to say one thing. It's like Jonathan, right? He made it to the Air Force Academy, and they told him, if you don't get vaccinated, then you can't come. Mm-hmm. He would have stopped himself from going to Air Force. He definitely stopped himself.
A great example.
Yeah.
So I think Djokovic finishes with 25 and will retire as the person with most majors ever, surpassing Margaret Court. I think Serena Williams and Rafael Nadal will end up tying at 23. I do not think there's any possibility Serena wins the U.S. Open.
No.
So
we know that.
I think Nadal will win another French Open. I think that'll wrap it up.
And he should be happy about that.
Very happy.
Yeah.
And lastly, I think Roger obviously will stay at 20.
Yeah.
So I think it'll end that way. Djokovic, though, you're right. Yes, he could roll off. If it wasn't for that caveat, then I think the sky is the limit. But I think based upon what he can play and where he is at in his career, I think 25 is a good number.
Mm-hmm. Michael Walker said, "Thank you, Carla. There are rules in life." Exactly. Yes. There are rules in life. And I just made my, he could have had it, but whatever. It's up to him, and that's what he has to live with.
Agreed. What's up, Mike?
Eleanor says, yes, in your lifetime, you will live a long time. The next gen can do it. Probably Djokovic. He seems to be the most healthy.
I mean, think of that, though. You know, and how old was I? Like around 30 when Federer broke Sampras's record, and even that was a long shot. And, you know, here we are at 22, Serena with 23. To think of how long it took for that to occur, much less think about someone starting out with 0.
Yeah.
I mean, let's look at Raducanu again. She won 1. Who? Where? Who was that?
Steffi Graf had a lot. Martina and Chris Evert, they build up that number, right?
Yeah.
They build.
They push each other.
They pushed each other. They build up that number. Well, like John McEnroe, he had quite a few. Borg had, a few, but then came Pete Sampras. Rod Laver had it too. Well, Pete Sampras, he pushed it. Then comes Roger Federer. He pushed it even more. Then comes Djokovic and Rafa, and pushed it even more.
Now, do you see? Is there any young player, male or female, ATP, WTA currently that you see a group of people that can push one another to win that many?
Not in this generation.
I don't see it.
Maybe the next generation. Not in this one for sure.
Agreed. Great to hear from you as always, Mike Walker. Much love.
He can't give credit to Nadal. He will never. He will never give him credit. You're right.
Question number 15. And this is an important question. There's only a few questions left. This is an important one. It means a lot, I think, to anybody or whoever's watching. Question number 15. The world is increasingly difficult. The world is an increasingly difficult place to live these days. What is one thing that you would say that is the most important thing to do in order to navigate through it? As difficult as the world is, what is the most important thing that you would say you must do in order to navigate through it, especially if you're talking to a younger person? What would you say is the most important?
Be kind. I think everybody's going to say be kind and shut your mouth.
Yeah. You know how Core says it? Be kind.
Shut your mouth.
Oh, wait a minute. Someone just asked me a question. 3YM Saint, day 5, post-op, patellar tendon rupture, doing good, pain low, just aching pain, hamstring the calf. 3YM Saint, much love to you. We were talking about this earlier. I did a playlist of videos when I ruptured my patellar tendon. A lot of people hear that and they associate the injury with like an ACL or an MCL. It's a totally different ballgame. You can come back from an arthroscopic ACL tear in a couple of months. Patellar tendon is a life-changing event. He's 5 days post-op. I'm sure I did a video 5 days post-op. I think I did like 30 days straight of videos. You're still in the thick of it. You will get better, though, and you will come out stronger than before. You will find out who really loves you because if it was not for Carla, I don't know what would happen. She carried me to the restroom. She helped me in the shower. She had to help me get out of the bathtub. She had to help me slide down the stairs. You cannot put weight on the leg at all. You lose all the muscle in your quad by means of atrophy because the leg is disconnected and it's immobilized for a while, and you have to incrementally start to bend it again. It's a brutal injury, but 3YM Saint, if there's any questions that you have at any point in time, feel free to ask. That's why I did the videos. It's a life-changing event. So God bless, man, and you'll get better. You will get better. At worst, you'll lose some range of motion, maybe. When they redid mine, they had to graft a little bit to make my knee long enough to repair, to put the hooks in my kneecap. So they drill a hole through the patella and they put anchors through it and then tie it on to the bottom part of what's left of the lower part of the tendon. And tendons don't grow back very quickly. They're not very they don't have much blood flow in them, so it takes a long time for the tendon to heal. But it will get better. At minimum, you might lose some range of motion.
It's tough in the beginning watching.
Yeah,
watching from
the sleeping's misery.
Yeah, like I watched him go through a lot. I would say your 3 or 4 months are going to be very tough.
Yeah,
you're definitely going to have family and support.
Yeah.
and they need to keep you positive because
you got to stay positive,
because that is one thing you will get down from what I saw. And if someone's not there telling you it'll be okay, you'll get through it day by day.
You'll break down. And believe me, I broke down. There would be times where everybody's going to the tennis court, and I love to coach. I love to be out there. It's my favorite thing to do. And to watch them go and me stay, it would get really, really depressing. The sleep was even worse because with this big thing on your leg and the extreme pain that you're still in, to sleep was awful. And when you don't sleep well, you don't act well. So it was a really, really tough time, but ultimately love you a lot and wish you the best for sure. And please keep me up if you have questions, exercises. Oh, and one last thing, you can do more than you think you can when you're injured. The orthopedic that did my surgery said I was in the top 1%. In other words, he's done hundreds of these surgeries, and he says I was the top 1% of people coming back. He said to me that he'd never seen someone attack his exercises the way that I did. In other words, he told me to do straight leg raises while I was still on the brace, fresh out of surgery, and I did that. It hurt like hell, but I just kept going, because I knew I had to get back out there on the court. And being that makes us pay the bills, I knew I had to get back out there. Anyway, you're going to be okay. So what is one of the things that you'll say to someone trying to navigate through this increasingly difficult world to live in? You guys said it already perfectly. Be kind, be positive. I always say something that's a quote that goes back many, many years to Plato, I think, and before. Be kind, because everyone you meet is fighting a tough battle. Look at 3YM out there with the patellar tendon rupture. Incredibly difficult injury. I would wish that pain on no man, but find a way to be positive. Tell younger people especially to study hard, to work hard, to train hard, to limit cell phone use, to limit how much.
I would say, I'd go for your dream. Don't let anybody stop you.
Yeah.
I so many people would tell me, blah, 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 blah. Don't listen to them.
Yes.
Go for your dream.
If you don't do that, someone else will. Okay. There are people that are hungry that are coming off the streets in India or Pakistan or Bangladesh or Singapore. I was going to say Singapore. I was thinking of Wayne and Chia. But there are people that are hungry to have an opportunity to do bigger things. And I can assure you that they're rolling with the blows and doing whatever they can to get better. Like our 13-year-old Lily is having a tough time in math. And I told her last night, I was like, I don't care. You're going to get an A in that class or things will change.
Well,
okay? Why do I say that? Because if you study, you can get that. Or if you sit up there and draw pictures all the time.
Well, she wasn't. She was studying. Her brother was helping her. And I told her today in the car, I said, look, Lily, there's so much available out there. You can get on the computer, on YouTube, put algebra up there. You got your brother that you can call. You can tell your teacher, hey, I need some more extra help, some extra work. What worksheets can you give me? There are ways of doing this. Otherwise, it gets behind you. So
I'm reading 3YM Saint. I agree with you because, again, I feel for him having gone through this injury. I'm curious, how did that happen to you? How did you rupture yours? But he says, thank you for your videos. They help me a lot. I watch day by day. They keep me motivated. I'm definitely picking tennis back up. It's been years. God bless you. Yes, I was back up hitting the tennis ball, and I did a video. Of that on that same playlist. Check it out. I put my first time hitting a tennis ball since injury. I couldn't bend the leg. I was extremely careful. But thank you for that. And back to you as well. But there is no excuse this day and age with all this help that you can get on your computer or your phone or tutors or whatever to make a B in mathematics. If you're making a B in mathematics in 8th grade, how hard is it going to be for you in 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, moving into college? How hard is it going to be for you to do well on the ACT? Now, Carla and I are far from wealthy. So that's one of the reasons why we say straight A's or else, because we don't have deep pockets. If our kids don't get a tennis scholarship or academic scholarship, there is no way we can pay for them to go to college unless they get a heavy amount of student loans.
Well, there's so many scholarships. Okay, but there are so many scholarships out there. There's so many people that have no idea about scholarships. There's so much out there that you can do it. I've learned it because I've seen my kids go through everything. Even though they got accepted, there was so much stuff that was offered to them. So don't give up. Anybody can go to school. There really is a lot out there.
There is.
That you don't know about. You just have to do the work.
And how do you find out about these things? Exactly what you said to begin. Be positive, because if you're negative, you're not going to want to go research it. You're not going to want to read about it. You're not going to want to figure it out because you're negative. So staying positive and having passion, like Ella said to start the show, is paramount. It's imperative. And that's it for that segment.
She said I went up a dunk and felt a pop and I got it.
Oh, you must be like what we call a weekend warrior, like I was. So I jumped up for an overhead, came down. Well, he knows this if you watch the video. But so I'm guessing you're between 25 and 45 if you're still dunking. I'm 6'1" and was always able to dunk a basketball. I had some hops. That's why I was able to get in and play basketball for a lot of years when others, being a white boy or a gringo, as Carl likes to say, the height, I didn't spring up to 6'8", 6'9" with some of the other kids that I played with, but I always had hops. And so I know the feeling. I was a jumper and I jump a lot and have a really defensive tennis game, running this ball down, running that ball down. But ultimately it comes to a point in time where your knees or your tendons can't handle the impact. That's pretty young.
That's young.
Pretty young, yeah. But it happens. And it usually happens from some type of fall or jump, right?
Yeah.
There was a gentleman I met from these videos, by the way, 3Y, that blew out both of them at the same time. There's a parade here in Mobile called Mardi Gras. You've probably heard of Mardi Gras. Anyway, so there's like these barricades that you have to put around the street so people don't run out and get hit by these floats. And it was like a rainy day, and he scaled the barricade, like he grabbed the thing and tried to leap over it and landed on both feet. And he landed, and it blew both of his patellar tendons out. Now, I just had one. I'm guessing you have one, and you know how difficult and how just crazy it is. Could you imagine having both of them done? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know what would have happened, but that is I don't even want to think about it. It's crazy. Okay. All right. Question number 16, and I only have this one and one more left. Okay. Question number.
You mean?
The page 15, question 16.
Oh, okay.
I organize my stuff, page numbers, and so forth.
Oh.
Okay. Question number 16, page 15. I had two questions on one sheet.
Gotcha.
Okay. Question number 16. We saw an article this morning. Actually, we read and saw a video about a pregnant mother in San Diego, California. I'm from California, by the way, so it kind of resonated with me. An article about a pregnant mother with a little boy that was begging for money in a parking lot in San Diego. Well, after that occurred, people were videoing them and they felt sorry for them. And they went like behind a building and came out in a brand new Mercedes and drove down the street. Okay. So in other words, someone is peddling for money and acting the part, but then here come they from behind a building in a brand new Benz, right? So my question with this is, and to you and to all of you, is this the new reality of the world in which we live? In other words, scams everywhere. Is this the new reality?
Unfortunately, yes. You know, that's why I have a hard time giving money to anybody, like on the street. You know what I mean? Like if I know them personally, if they're going through something, you know, they do a GoFundMe page. I do it because you know them personally, right?
This is one of those what goes around comes around things.
But I'm talking about, yes. But I'm talking about like on the street because you just never know. Like if somebody puts, I'm hungry, I'm going to give them food. I'd rather give them food than the money. Yeah. So, yeah.
They
were apparently laughing too. Like the lady kind of, and then the pregnant lady was going to try to hit the lady that recorded.
Yeah.
With a rock. They had to call 911.
She got caught.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever heard the Latin term cavit emptor? Have you ever heard this term, cavit emptor? Okay, it's been around 1,000 years more, 2,000 years. It means buyer beware and means in Latin. So why do I bring up cavit emptor? There's nothing new about scams. People have been scamming people for thousands of years. It's the human way, right? It goes back thousands of years. People have been in prisons for thousands of years because of scamming people or taking things or stealing from them. There are three things I hate to be called: a liar, a thief, or a cheat. I don't do either one. I'll just say it like it is. You might hate me for it. That's okay. But don't ever call me a liar, a thief, or you remember the movie Back to the Future where he says you're yellow and he always flips out? We brought something up in the show earlier about some of the most negative things on the tennis court that I've been through, or we have been through. There is still a lot of negative energy that I keep in my head because of what happened at that tennis tournament here, not terribly far away. Basically, we were called liars, cheaters, and whatever, when obviously the match didn't started yet, so it's bullshit. And I still, to this very day, hold a grudge over that. I still do. And I still haven't gotten the pleasure of someone apologizing for that. They probably don't even know. But I still hold a big grudge for that because someone insinuated that we were lying, which is bullshit. And the whole group of people sitting in the bleachers that heard it knew it too. They knew it, we were right and legit. And those people still hold a grudge. Anyway, buyer beware. There's nothing new about it, but with the amount of cell phones and the amount of online shopping and the amount of people struggling, especially just to pay the bills. Okay. Now, granted, you don't need to have the bins if you can't pay the bills. That's probably $1,000 a month payment, or if you paid for it, damn. We drive a beat up Subaru. Well, it's got dog print. It's not a brand new car. We share a minimal medium sized compact SUV.
It's a Subaru
Forester.
It was nice.
Base model.
It was nice when we got it. The dog sits on the thing. It's not beat up.
Just saying. We're definitely not driving a Benz.
No.
Anyway.
But if we were, who cares? We're not begging for money. So
yeah,
that's the point.
Exactly. Yes. And so there was an experience I had just about a month and a half ago, and I just got the stuff a week ago. So I was reading an article and all of a sudden I came across this advertisement for a brand called Kotosen, Cotosen. And I said, oh, these shorts look kind of cool. You know, I got just tennis shorts. Let me just buy a pair of these shorts. So I ordered them. About 5 minutes later, I get a tracking thing from China. No disrespect to China. No disrespect to China. But it said on there, made in the USA, high quality. So I got the tracking number written in Chinese or Japanese characters, whatever, not Japanese, Chinese. And so I said, I hope I didn't just get scammed. Let me go to reviews. So I hit reviews, Kotosen, and there was like 577 reviews. And out of 577 of them, all of them said 1-star scam, 1-star scam. So fast forward to now.
That's why you do your research stuff.
Yeah, fast forward to now. I got a package in the mail after waiting a month and a half from China. I had to go to the post office to get it. And there's some rinky-dink garments in there that aren't stitched together well. The letters are crooked. They're not embroidered on there. They're just stamps. Ridiculous. And I paid like $105 or something. And I got burnt on it. And I'm usually pretty cavit emptor knowledgeable. And I got scammed. And I very rarely get scammed. And I got burnt the other day. So moral of the story, people are scamming people everywhere. Beware. Okay.
Just like that Wish website. Don't ever order stuff from there.
Yeah.
That's like cheap.
Be careful. Okay. Last thing, and a very poignant thing, very thought evoking, has to do with Sophia Kenin. You all know Sophia Kenin won the Australian Open in 2020. Mm-hmm. So Sophia Kenin just won her first match in 8 months. Think about that. She just won her first match in 8 months. Okay. Sophia Kenin recently was dropped from the management team top 5. Fila, who she was sponsored by, John Isner wears the stuff, Opelka wears the stuff. I don't particularly care for the stuff. We've gotten some Fila stuff, some shoes and garments over the years, and it's all pretty cheap quality. Shoes fall apart pretty quickly.
They fall apart.
Anyway, Fila did not renew her contract either. Now let's rewind back to 2020, where she won the Australian Open. Beginning the next year in 2021, where she was expected to defend her title and retain the 2021 Australian Open title, she lost to Kaya Kanepi in the second round. Okay. She said at that point in time that there was so much pressure on her to win it again that she couldn't think clearly. She felt foggy. She couldn't process anything. She was stressed and she wasn't good. Okay. Then shortly after that, Sophia Kenin had to have an appendectomy. She had to have her appendix removed, appendix surgery. Okay. An invasive, pretty pretty hardcore surgery, right? Then she was had a foot injury that removed her from the Olympics, which was a big deal. Further that she tested positive for COVID that year for Wimbledon. She had to miss Wimbledon, and she missed the French Open. Fast forward to now, she is ranked 426 in the world. Okay. My questions to you all are this. Question A, how fragile is it being a pro athlete? Not just a tennis player, not just any athlete. How fragile is it being a tennis player? I guess you could say in the coaching world, the same thing. You get fired as a coach, you're on the street. Believe me, it's a fragile coaching, playing as a career is volatile. You have to be damn careful. A lot of people ask Carla and I, why don't you guys mingle so much and have a bunch of friends at your respective club? It's not that we don't, not just that club, but others that we have been around or coached at over the years, you know, in our lives. It's very cliquish. There's always, you know, some people at that place that may like one group of people and maybe not the other. And if you say one thing here, it just creates a mess. So it's not that we don't do it intentionally. We just know if we don't keep our mouth shut, you might end up on the wrong side of the street, right? So you have to be careful. And injuries, like I ruptured my patellar tendon. It put me out of coaching. I couldn't even get up and walk for a couple of months. That hurt economically big time for me being stupid and angry, right? But how fragile is it being a pro athlete? And B, is this very much like Eugenie Bouchard? Is this very much like Emma Raducanu? Is this very much like hundreds of thousands of pro athletes that have had their career shortened or one and done type thing? Do you agree or disagree that this is the same type of thing that's going to happen or is happening currently to Raducanu? It's the same type of thing that's happened to Eugenie Bouchard.
It takes a special mind or a strong mind, or you have to have a strong support group around you to keep you grounded. That is the key. If you notice, all these champions that won a lot of slams, they had great support around them. They stayed hungry. They didn't let pressure take over them. You can almost tell when someone wins a slam whether the pressure is going to hit them or not.
Yeah.
For like Swiatek, it's great that she won too, because she kind of can take that off her back now.
Well, I
got two.
I think she'll win another one.
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah. She got two, so she don't have to think, oh my God, one and done. She got her two.
Well, that type of pressure is affecting Naomi Osaka, or do you think she just doesn't have interest?
She has no interest. She's got too much money.
Okay.
She got too much money. She has no interest.
And she has certain isms to stand behind now.
And she has a boyfriend. I already told you that. Once that happens.
Yeah, and don't forget how fragile it can be as a pro athlete when you buy into certain isms and beliefs. You know, there's an old saying in the coaching world and in life in general, don't ever get involved or open your mouth about race, religion, or politics. In the state of Alabama, it's best not to talk about sports when you're talking about football, because there's two colleges here, University of Alabama and University of Auburn, or Auburn University. And if you say you like one, then 50% of the people are automatically going to hate you because of the team you like. So sometimes even sports can get that way. But talking about these type of isms and how that affects athletes. Look at Colin Kaepernick. Look, I'm a San Francisco 49er. I was born in San Francisco, raised in California. I'm a big 49ers fan. And I have to be careful saying that I like Colin Kaepernick because of what other people think that he is just about. You know, he chose to take a stand for something he believed in, and it affected his whole career. So you have to be careful with things like that as well, isms and certain things you voice your opinion on, because if you do, you're automatically going to piss off the other half of the people. If you just would have kept your mouth shut, maybe did something that you didn't necessarily like to do, then you would still have most people still on your team. So you have to be careful opening your mouth about race, religion, politics, because you're going to get burned. And that's why we don't ever talk about it. All right, guys, that is it. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. The U.S. Open is beginning qualies today. If you are going to participate in the $700 cash giveaway by predicting the men's finalists, women's finalists, and winners, or want to participate in the fantasy team competitions where two people are going to win either way, then check out the video on this playlist that says the 2022 U.S. Open fantasy team entry video or $700 entry video. And that's basically it. EYM out there with the ruptured patellar tendon. Much love, bro. I don't want to say you won't be dunking again, but I don't know. You get post 25 and we're not NBA players. I don't know if it's really a good idea to be dunking anymore anyway. That takes a lot of wear and tear, a lot of pressure on the knees to absorb that type of height. If you're above 6 feet, maybe you don't have to fall so far. But if you're one of these shorter guys with a lot of jump, a lot of hops, got to be careful coming down. I know the feeling. That's what blew mine out. Anyway, much love to all of you. Thanks so much for taking time to answer these questions. Everyone in the chat, Yin Hao, Michael Walker, as always, Ellen Noir, Jack Nolte. The list goes on. I can't see it. It goes away. But a lot of you out there, BYM with the tendon. I haven't heard from Sister to Queen in a while. Miss her. Anyway, much love to all you, Wayne Chia, whoever else was in the chat. We'll talk to you guys soon. And that's it for today.
Adios.
Peace.